Nobody saw this one coming. Out of all the names that could have been dragged into chaos this week, Megan Thee Stallion was not on that bingo card. And yet somehow, here we are. Because Blueface decided he needed attention again. And when Blueface needs attention, he doesn't knock politely. He kicks the door down.
Megan and Blue need to make a baby. Yes, I don't know why y'all was trying to act like she too good for my son. The bitch just got in the foot. Come on now.
It was supposed to be a simple promo moment. Jaidyn Alexis had a sit-down on the Jason Lee show. The focus was meant to be her music, her growth, her viral moment on TikTok, the whole new chapter narrative. Blueface has been loud about wanting to turn her into a star. He's been positioning himself like the mastermind behind her rollout. So this interview, it was supposed to elevate her. Instead, it turned into a headline about someone who wasn't even in the room.
What did you think about his mom wanting to hook him up with Megan Thee Stallion?
What I think about it, it was a clout reach.
Yeah, I mean...
Clout reach went back.
Because the second Megan Thee Stallion's name came up, everything shifted. Now let's rewind just a little so this makes sense. Blueface has built his entire public persona on disruption. If there's peace, he'll disturb it. If there's silence, he'll fill it with something reckless. For months, the internet had finally gotten a break. No daily back and forth with Chrissy and Rock. No explosive relationship drama clogging timelines. Even things with Jaidyn Alexis had looked relatively calm by his standards. People thought maybe, just maybe, he was focused. That illusion didn't last long. On the Jason Lee show, the conversation drifted towards something his mother once said. A bizarre comment about him and Megan Thee Stallion being a good match and even having a baby together.
Cool.
I already been there and done that.
Been there and done what?
Exactly.
Next question.
You slept with Megan?
Jason, I didn't say that.
Look at me. Are you saying you slept with Megan Thee Stallion?
Didn't say that.
It was messy back then, but it had faded into background noise. Jason asked Jaidyn what she thought about that situation. She brushed it off, called it clout chasing, kept it moving. That should have been the end of it, but Blueface leaned forward like someone waiting for his cue. He casually dropped a bomb. I already been there. Jason didn't even ask him. The question wasn't for him, but he inserted himself anyway. When pressed, he tried to play coy, smirked, dodged, acted like he didn't want to say too much. And then, because he can't help himself, he said just enough to light the match. He suggested that years ago, when both he and Megan were coming up in the industry, they had a moment, not a relationship, not something public, just something that happened. And then he went further. He hinted that it wasn't just a conversation. You could feel the room shift.
You said been there, done that. Okay.
I might have got some head. A long time ago.
Jason looked caught off guard. Jaidyn looked tight, and Blueface looked entertained. He framed it like it was ancient history, like it was no big deal, like it was just two rising artists in the 2018 XXL freshman class crossing paths behind the scenes. But here's the thing, if it was nothing, why bring it up now? That's the part people can't ignore. He said it happened around the time they were both fresh in the industry, back when the XXL class was buzzing, when everyone was networking, building, grinding for position. Back when Megan was just starting to build the brand that would later dominate charts and stages. And for 5 whole years, silence. No interviews, no hints, no remember when stories. So why now? Because timing is never random with him. Let's be honest. Megan Thee Stallion has been through enough public scrutiny to last a lifetime. Every disagreement, every contract dispute, every industry fallout somehow spirals into conversations about her personal life. Not her work ethic, not her bars, not her accolades, her body, her relationships, who she dated, who she didn't. And here comes another man stepping up to volunteer information nobody asked for. That's what made this hit differently. It wasn't just gossip, it wasn't just messy storytelling, it felt calculated. Because the internet doesn't treat women and men the same when stories like this surface. A man brags, he's that guy. A woman's name gets dragged. Suddenly she's trending for all the wrong reasons. And the comment sections, brutal. And Blueface knows that. He's lived online long enough to understand how narratives twist. Meanwhile, Jaidyn sat there forced to process the fact that her promo interview just turned into her man reminiscing about another woman on camera. Years ago or not, it's still uncomfortable, especially when it wasn't necessary. That tension was visible. And then there's Megan, because if you think she was going to let that slide quietly, you must not know her. This isn't someone who stays silent when her name gets pulled into chaos. She's taken hits publicly before, from labels, from former collaborators, from men who suddenly remember private moments when it benefits them. She's heard it all. But this one? This felt like someone poking at old history just to stay relevant in today's headlines. Sources close to her say she was irritated more than anything. Not shocked, not heartbroken, just tired. Tired of being the storyline. From her perspective, whatever happened years ago was exactly that. Years ago. She's moved on. Built an empire. Survived controversies that would have buried other artists. She's been fighting battles in courtrooms, in boardrooms, in public opinion. And now someone wants to rewind to 2018 for content? That's where the frustration comes in. Because when you zoom out, this isn't just about Blueface dropping tea. It's about a pattern. Whenever Megan's name enters a conversation, it trends. Whenever a man mentions her, blogs pick it up. Screenshots spread. Reaction videos multiply. Attention follows her whether she asks for it or not. And Blueface understands attention. So now the timeline is split. Some people are saying, I believe him. Others are asking why he felt the need to speak on it at all. A few are pointing out that grown men publicly revisiting private encounters says more about them than anyone else. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Even if something did happen 5 years ago, what does that change today? She was single. He was single. They were young artists in the same spaces. So what exactly was exposed? That's the question that's starting to simmer. Because when you strip away the shock factor, all that's left is timing, and the timing feels strategic. The internet is loud right now, but Megan hasn't fully stepped into the spotlight on this yet, and that silence, it's making people nervous. Because when she does respond, it's rarely subtle. And if Blueface thought tossing her name out there was going to be a one-sided conversation, he might have underestimated who he was talking about. Right now, it feels like the opening move in something bigger. Because once Megan decides to address it directly, and she will, this whole narrative could flip in seconds. And when it flips, somebody's going to look real different than they did on that couch. The internet didn't calm down, it got louder. By the time clips from that interview finished making their rounds, the conversation wasn't even about Jaidyn's music anymore. It wasn't about career moves or growth. It was about one sentence, one smirk, one careless moment where Blueface decided to turn ancient history into fresh gossip, and Megan's name was everywhere again. At first, she stayed quiet. No immediate tweet, no live session, no Instagram rant, just silence. But if you've watched Megan over the years, you know that silence doesn't mean she's unaware. It means she's calculating. Megan Thee Stallion has learned the hard way that reacting too fast gives people exactly what they want. Every time she claps back impulsively, blogs frame her as emotional. Every time she ignores something, people twist that too. So this time, she let the conversation breathe. Meanwhile, Blueface, he leaned into it. Blueface started reposting clips, laughing emojis, subtle captions that didn't say much but said enough. The tone wasn't remorseful, it wasn't reflective, it was playful, like this was all entertainment. That's when it started feeling intentional, because let's be real, if this was just a random slip-up, he could have clarified. He could have said, it was nothing, we were kids, don't blow it out of proportion. Instead, he fed it. And that's when Megan's camp started moving. Not in a dramatic press conference way, not with official statements, just whispers through insiders. Word started circulating that she found the whole thing corny, that she hadn't thought about him in years, that dragging up a 5-year-old encounter for attention felt desperate. One insider even hinted that she was more annoyed about the potential backlash than the actual claim itself, because she knows how this goes. When men talk about past encounters, they walk away untouched. When women get mentioned, their character gets dissected. And the comments proved that point instantly. Some people were laughing. Some were calling it believable. Some were trying to connect it to every other name Megan's been linked to over the years. That's the part that hit a nerve, because this isn't the first time her personal life has been weaponized publicly. Think about how quickly her disagreements with industry figures have turned into character attacks. Business disputes suddenly become conversations about her morals. Legal battles suddenly morph into speculation about her relationships. Even during the very public fallout with Tory Lanez, her private life was dragged into court discussions and online debates in ways that felt invasive. During that period, she openly expressed how humiliating it felt to have her personal experiences debated like entertainment. And now, here we go again. Except this time, it wasn't tied to a legal case or a professional dispute. It was just someone deciding to revisit something old because cameras were rolling. That's what made her eventual reaction sharper. She didn't go live screaming. She didn't type out a 5-paragraph explanation. Instead, she addressed it in that cool, controlled way she's mastered, making it clear she found the whole situation weird without giving it more oxygen than necessary. People close to her say she felt it was embarrassing for him, not her. That if something happened years ago, it wasn't a scandal. It was two young artists in the same circle. The only scandal was someone thinking it needed to be announced in 2026 like breaking news. And that's when public opinion started shifting. Because once you step back and really look at it, what was actually exposed? No betrayal, no timeline overlap, no shocking revelation, just nostalgia dressed up as drama. But here's where it gets messier. Jaidyn. Because while Megan's name was trending, Jaidyn was the one sitting right next to Blueface when he dropped that bomb. And you could see it on her face, that tight smile, that blink that lasts a little too long, that "why are you doing this right now" energy. Jaidyn Alexis was supposed to be having her moment. Her songs have been gaining traction. TikTok has been kind to her lately. She's been trying to establish herself outside of relationship headlines, and then her man turned her promo into a confession booth about another woman. That's not small. Even if the encounter happened years before their relationship, the way it was delivered matters. It wasn't respectful. It wasn't necessary. It wasn't even relevant to the question being asked. And viewers picked up on that fast. Clips started circulating with captions like, "Why is he bragging?" and "This wasn't even about him." Some people even pointed out that if roles were reversed, if Jaidyn casually mentioned a past situation with another rapper on camera, the reaction would have been explosive. That double standard? It's loud. Meanwhile, Jason Lee looked like he accidentally opened a door he didn't expect someone to run through. Jason Lee asked a question rooted in past commentary from Blueface's mom. It wasn't an invitation for a reveal. But once Blueface started talking, there was no stopping it. And the more the clip circulated, the more the narrative evolved. Some people started speculating about why now. Is he trying to stay relevant? Is this tied to music rollouts? Is he deflecting from something else? Or is he just being who he's always been? Because if we're honest, unpredictability has been his brand. But unpredictability hits different when it involves someone who's been publicly fighting to reclaim her narrative for years. That's why Megan's response, controlled but pointed, felt like a line in the sand. She didn't need to deny or confirm anything in detail. The energy of her reaction said enough. "Why are you talking about me?" And sometimes that's more powerful than a long explanation. Still, the internet isn't done, because once a story like this enters the ecosystem, it grows legs. Old clips resurface. Old photos get reposted. People start rewriting timelines in their heads. It becomes bigger than what was actually said. And Blueface seems comfortable with that chaos. But here's where the temperature really starts rising. Megan isn't someone who forgets patterns. She notices when her name becomes currency for someone else's headlines. She's watched it happen before. And every time, she's had to clean up the narrative afterward. The difference now? She's stronger, more strategic, less reactive. And if she decides to address this more directly, not emotionally, but analytically, the spotlight could shift fast. Because once people start asking why a man needs to broadcast private history for laughs, the joke stops being funny. Right now, it feels like we're watching two very different energies collide. One thrives on noise. The other has learned how to weaponize composure. And if Blueface thought this was just a throwaway anecdote, he might not realize that the backlash isn't fully formed yet. Because once Megan decides she's done being polite about it, the entire tone of the conversation changes. And that's exactly what started happening. It didn't explode overnight. It shifted. Slowly. Strategically. The jokes started turning into think pieces. The clips that were once being reposted for laughs started being dissected frame by frame. People weren't just reacting anymore. They were analyzing. And when you analyze it, the picture looks different. Megan Thee Stallion didn't go on a rant. She didn't sit down for a tearful interview. Instead, she addressed the energy, not the details. She made it clear that dragging up ancient history for clout was weird behavior. That grown men revisiting private moments for attention was embarrassing. It wasn't loud, it was cutting. And that's when public opinion really started flipping. Because once the dust settled, people began asking the obvious question: what exactly did Blueface gain from this? There was no shocking betrayal, no timeline scandal, no explosive receipts, just a vague story about something that might have happened 5 years ago when two artists were navigating the same industry rooms. That's it. So why say it? And the more that question echoed, the more the spotlight moved off Megan and onto him. Blueface thrives on chaos. It's part of his brand DNA. But chaos only works when the audience finds it entertaining. The second it starts looking unnecessary, the vibe shifts from wild to corny. And that shift? You could feel it. Comment sections started filling up with people calling it lame, not because of what he claimed happened, but because of how he delivered it. The smirk, the bragging tone, the way he inserted himself into a question that wasn't even directed at him. It stopped feeling accidental. It started feeling thirsty. Meanwhile, Jaidyn Alexis had to sit in the aftermath. Her name was barely trending, even though it was her interview. Instead of headlines about her music, it was Blueface Says, dominating the algorithm. That's not just messy, that's selfish. And viewers picked up on that too. There's a difference between being transparent and being reckless. Transparency involves accountability. Recklessness is when you throw someone's name into the fire and step back to watch it burn. But here's the twist nobody expected. The more Blueface leaned into the moment online, the calmer Megan appeared. She didn't escalate it. She didn't trade insults. She didn't drop a diss track teaser. She kept moving, posting about her work, promoting projects, living like none of it shook her. That composure did more damage than any clapback would have. Because when one person is loud and the other is unfazed, it changes who looks powerful. And that's where the power shift happened. For years, Megan's narrative has been shaped by external voices. Label disputes, industry beef, courtroom drama, public relationships. Every chapter seemed to involve someone else speaking about her instead of her speaking for herself. But this time, she controlled the tempo. By refusing to turn it into a spectacle, she made it clear that whatever happened in 2018 wasn't the headline of her life. It was a footnote. And only one person seemed desperate to highlight it. The irony is heavy. Blueface positioned the story like he was revealing something shocking. But in reality, the only thing exposed was his need to attach himself to a bigger name. And people noticed. Even fans who initially believed him started asking why it mattered. Even critics who loved to drag Megan had to admit that revisiting old encounters for laughs is not exactly mature behavior. The internet can be ruthless, but it also recognizes patterns. And the pattern here, whenever Megan climbs, someone reaches back to pull her into old mess. The difference now is she's not falling for it. She's evolved. And evolution is dangerous to people who rely on outdated tactics. Now let's zoom out for a second. If something did happen years ago, they were both single. They were both adults. They were both navigating early industry fame. That's not scandalous. That's normal. What makes it messy is timing and intention. Timing is everything in this business. And the timing of Blueface's reveal lined up with one thing perfectly: attention cycles. The blogs needed something spicy. The interview needed a viral moment. And Megan's name guarantees clicks. But here's the part that stings. Attention is temporary. Reputation lasts longer. And when this dies down, because it will, the takeaway won't be Megan exposed. It'll be Blueface couldn't resist inserting himself. That's not a flattering legacy. The energy online has already cooled. People have moved on to the next trending topic. Megan is back to promoting her work. Blueface is back to being unpredictable. Jaidyn is still pushing her music. But there's a lingering lesson here. Not every private memory needs a public microphone. Not every old story deserves new life. And not every moment of silence means weakness. Sometimes it means strategy. Because while Blueface was laughing on that couch, Megan was watching the bigger picture. She didn't have to defend her past. She didn't have to deny anything in detail. She simply reminded everyone that her life doesn't revolve around someone else's need for relevance. And that's the real flex. So now I'm curious. Was Blueface just being Blueface, reckless, impulsive, living for the moment? Or was this a calculated attempt to spark headlines at someone else's expense? And more importantly, did it backfire? Drop your thoughts below. Do you think Megan handled it the right way by staying composed? Or should she have gone harder and shut it down completely? Let's talk about it. And if you rock with these deep dives where we break down the layers behind the headlines, make sure you tap that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I'll catch you on the next one.